Hey, it's your friend Ryan Rolfe with the DSM Sold team at Keller Williams Legacy Group here in Des Moines Central Iowa. And welcome to November. We are officially in the last 2 months of 2025. The holidays are coming up, so a lot of various holidays happen between now and the end of the year and the beginning of 2026. So what we will likely see is that the real estate market in our area in central Iowa tends to take a little bit of a slowdown as we get into the holiday season and also as we get into the colder weather. So hopefully it'll be quite some time before we see a major snowstorm or ice storm or really, really frigid temperatures. Usually that comes after the first of the year. And yet that does affect the market, of course. So if we had a big snowstorm or if weather changed drastically and it got really cold out, ice, snow, sleet, any of those sorts of things that we might see cancel school, we do tend to see that affect the real estate market, just as folks, they don't want to go out to school because schools got canceled and workplaces maybe have folks working from home. We tend to see that the real estate market follows suit. Of course, we're still working, and yet there's fewer showings, less activity in those weeks. So again, more likely than not, we see the holiday season kind of slow things down until we get into January and February, where we tend to have, if we will have, snowstorms and wintry cold weather that slow the real estate market down for those reasons as we approach the start to spring. That's not here yet. We still have to get through winter, unfortunately. But let's talk about what we saw in October and what that means. So we are at just under 4,500 homes on the market still. Likely we'll see that hit 4,500 here before too long. Kind of thought it would be this week, and yet cancellations for new construction listings is really what caused that inventory not to hit the 4,500 number. That's pretty typical as builders are kind of rethinking maybe what they're going to do with their spec homes or how they're going to relist them. That happens as those expire throughout the year. They may keep them off the market for a little bit, may put them back on. But likely, I think we'll get to that 4,500 number here before too long, which would put us very close to 2019. Overall, with the way that the market's going, we're seeing shifts in the type of market that we're seeing. So still, generally speaking, under that $400,000 number is a seller's market. We did see this month over previous months, the $300,000 to $400,000 price point tipped into an even market. The $0 to $100,000 price point is also in an even market, and the $500,000 to $600,000 price point is an even market. Above that, we are into a buyer's market. So with the 0 to 100, 3 to 400, and 5 to 600, 5 to 600 likely probably will stay in that even space. The 0 to 100 and 3 to 400, those are just over 4 months of inventory, and those can transition fairly quickly from one to the other. So we might see that get back into a seller's market. And yet it tends to be when we get into the cooler season that we do see things even out a little bit for all sides. So if you remember last week, we were talking about how the market can benefit everyone, both buyers and sellers. Buyers, of course, have a lot more opportunity and maybe can take a little bit longer in finding the right home. We certainly have seen buyers taking more, asking for more rather on inspections than maybe in previous years, which is pretty typical as the market gets more normalized. Price reductions overall, we're seeing, well over last year what we saw for price reductions. Median list price is right around $329,900, so that's below what 2024 was, and we are certainly, price cuts continue to come at very high numbers. October was actually a record, which was 2,377 price cuts on homes that are actively listed. So again, not uncommon to see price reductions. That's just the market correcting itself, and we're getting more into a more stable pricing environment. So if you're listing, make sure depending on where you're coming at in the market, that you're pricing ahead of the market. What's your competition doing? How do you compare to them? And then what are you doing to make your home stand out online? You've heard me probably like a broken record talk about staging and photography and that online presentation. That's key, as well as what are you doing to market your home and make your home stand out, whether it's pricing ahead of the market, which is of course always the best option, because otherwise you are one of those price reductions. If you're not pricing right where you need to be, and it tends to be that you can sell for more when you're pricing right from the get-go versus having to do price reductions. You're always chasing the market a little bit. We'll probably continue right around what we saw for 2024 closings overall, maybe beat it just by a little bit. So if you're out there as a buyer and you're eyeing below 400,000, options are certainly opening up. And then if you're thinking of selling and you're above 600,000, well, you want to make sure that your pricing is on point more than ever with the amount of inventory that we have. Interest rates certainly are still lower than they have been, 6.17 on average. With the Federal Reserve's recent meeting, that did, the speculation around that, and when that happened, did drive interest rates up a little bit, and yet they're still staying in the low sixes. We're seeing some in the fives as well still here in central Iowa. So likely we'll see those continue to hopefully hold steady, maybe come down a little bit. Time will tell. Of course, we don't have a crystal ball, and any crystal ball that we did, if you know me, I'll tell you it's even hazier than it ever has been, with many things outside of the real estate market affecting the economy and all of the different things that go into how the real estate market performs. So this weekend, we saw 205 new homes come on the market. 121 homes went into pending or under contract status, and 108 homes sold and closed and got to welcome their new owners. If you've got questions on what any of this means for you, what interest rates are doing, where you're thinking about buying, and how that compares to previously this year or previous years, feel free to reach out. We are always happy to help. One of the things that I found interesting this week was in the $200,000 to $300,000 and the $300,000 to $400,000 price points. If you looking at the end of October, comparing, or not really comparing, but just looking at pendings versus new listings, we have the most inventory active and pending in the 2 to 3 and 3 to 4, but also in that $200,000 to $400,000 price point. Those two price brackets, about 1/4 of the active inventory is going pending. So that's lower than what we had previously seen. It was right around a third. Now it's right around a fourth, which means there's more opportunities for buyers that are out there, and pricing is key if you are thinking about selling. So thanks everybody for watching. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.